In your life, you deserve to be more, do more, have more, and give more. And now the Becoming More podcast with Dianna Kokoszka.
So welcome to Becoming More with Tony DiCello today, where we're going to be discussing some of the things that salespeople actually go through. Now, if you're in real estate, it is going to be geared toward real estate primarily because we've been in real estate. How long have you been in the real estate industry?
I got my license 49 years ago.
49 years ago. And some of you are going to say, oh, whatever he has to say isn't relevant. Oh, yes, it is, because you've coached some of the top people over the years, correct?
Yes.
And still helping them today.
Yeah, talk to a lot of them on an ongoing basis.
Right. Well, they won't let you go because you've taken their business up millions. I mean, where was Greg when you started coaching him?
Doing about 80 closings.
80 closings, and last year he did
4,000.
4,000. I think you're in for something today. And even if you're not in real estate, well, listen, because sales are sales, right?
Sales are sales are sales. Yes.
Yeah, the ABCs of selling, always be closing. Well, I just want you to know that we're here today to add value to you. And we're going to be bringing up various agents that we've coached along the way or that we've helped add value to and share with you some of the things that they're doing that you can do as well. Some of the things that we did that are still working today.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I sometimes think it's funny, Tony, when people talk about some of the things they're doing like it's new, and we were doing that back in the 80s. Right? It just keeps coming around, kind of like fashion keeps coming back, right? So let's start out with, what do you think is one of the things that agents are not doing today or salespeople are not doing today that if they did would dramatically change their business?
Probably the greatest thing that salespeople are not doing is creating a consistency in their business.
Okay, so consistency, we know that means doing the same thing over and over again, yet give us some examples of that.
Well, one thing would be being in your lead generation model, whatever that is, or model to have conversations with people, and to do it. When we were at the Becoming More conference, I talked to people, and we worked on establishing what's consistency mean? And if there's 365 days a year and there's approximately 260 work days, that'd be 5 days a week, 52 weeks of the year. People were doing 50 days, 100 days. Now, in reality, would you call that consistency?
No, 50 out of 365 or even 260 work days. No, what did they determine would actually mean consistent?
I talked to some of the mega agents I'm with that I used to coach, I should say, and still talking to. And I would say they're doing 225 to 250 a year, 225 days to 250 days.
Well, I saw you with that table, and there was a table of 8 of you sitting there, and these were people that you keep in contact with and have coached over the years, and they felt that 250 days meant consistency?
Yep.
Okay, consistently doing what?
Consistently doing 2 things. One, have conversations with people. Conversations with people to nurture them to becoming an appointment, which becomes a contract, which becomes a closing.
Okay, conversations, meaning you ask questions and they answer, right?
Yeah, you have a conversation. It's not you talking at them. You're asking questions to have a conversation to find out where they are in the process of getting their home sold or buying a house.
Mm-hmm. And when they're lead generating, because there's a lot of different ways to lead generate, let's talk about some of the various ways that people that you've worked with and I've worked with have lead generated consistently.
Most of the people that I coached over the years, their number one source of creating conversations or creating leads was through telephone calls.
Okay, so picking up the phone, like when I started, we didn't have a way.
Right.
I was like, it was interesting. Today you asked me, you sold 104 homes, and yet how many people have asked you how you did it?
Right.
What you did, how you did it.
Right.
Yeah, that was door knocking. Yet once we could call and look up those phone numbers, we started doing that. That's how Greg does all of his, right?
Greg does it, Jeff, a lot of people, Peter. I think most people are on the phones having conversations with databases. So if you're going to have a conversation on an ongoing basis with consistency of 225, 250 days a year, that means you have to have a fairly substantial database.
Well, let's talk about that for just a moment, and then we'll come back to lead generation. The database, how big are some of their databases?
The biggest I know is 350,000, and probably the people that are doing the best are carrying databases of probably 25 to 50,000. There's a lot of people with 50 to 100,000 and over 100,000.
And they are lead generating, contacting those people, how often?
They're contacting those people 50, 60, 75, 100 times a year.
Through email, phone calls?
Email, phone calls. What is happening today that makes a database of 200,000 people possible? Technology. They're contacting them through technology to provide a education value to them. So they're doing insights, they're doing what's happening in the market, what's happening with interest rates, what's happening just in the economy in general. So they're providing education to start building a deeper relationship with people.
Does the education help position them as an expert in real estate?
Absolutely. People want to know they're working with somebody that knows what they're doing.
So it doesn't matter if you're a financial planner, realtor, car salesman, whatever, people desire to work with a professional.
Absolutely.
Okay. So you've worked with people that are known as a professional. Let's talk about some of the different ways though of that lead generation.
Well, I have one couple that they just do open houses. Why do open houses work better today than they did in the past? Well, in the past, we ran an ad, which nobody saw. We put out a few signs, which not enough people saw.
Oh, but then we added balloons. Right?
So we thought the balloons would catch their attention. Today, open houses people are preparing for an open house for weeks. They're going on social media and telling everybody what we're doing. We're having an open house in 10 days. They're putting it on all their social medias, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. They're also communicating with everybody in their database about their open house.
So are they calling them? Are they emailing both?
All.
Oh, okay. Now I know the Burnses do this,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah, and the goal is to invite thousands of people. So what happens? Hundreds show up.
So is it like an event at an open house?
It's more of an event than it is an open house.
Okay.
They do a lot of door knocking in the neighborhood because they want to make the open house double-sided rather than single-sided.
Well, now that's exciting right there, right?
Well, if you let the neighbors know more than once that you're holding an open house, a neighbor that's thinking about selling is going to come to that open house to see what you're doing. No desire to see what's happening in the house. They're checking you out as a potential realtor to possibly list their house with.
If you have lots of people there, they're excited.
They're excited because now they know you do more than just a little bit to get a lot of people. The goal would be to build your list, build your database, and invite your database to every open house. Your social media you've got thousands and thousands of people in your phone. You got thousands of people on your social media. Are you inviting them all to an open house so that the open house gives you enough people in the open house that, I talked to one realtor and his goal is to set at least 5 appointments at an open house. When was the last time somebody told you their goal of an open house is to get appointments?
Well, I've not heard that, Tony. Well, that's extras.
An idea was, if I'm door knocking and inviting people to the open house that are potential sellers, what should I have handy probably?
Well, you should definitely have a market study.
Yeah. So are you bringing market studies to your open house? Oh, are you having other market centers, other CMAs around the area? So if they don't want to live in that area, but they want to move up, do you have move up market valuations so they can see what the prices are like and what they get for their money?
You know, one of the things that we were talking about yesterday, some of the crazy things we did, is I used to give a gallon of ice cream. And I'd say, oh, I bet your kids love ice cream, or I bet you do, right? First of all, you always ask how many are in your family. You never ask if they have children, in case they don't, it might hurt them a little bit. So you just say how many's in your family. If they say 4, oh, you have 2 kids, I bet they love ice cream. And then I would give them a big thing of ice cream, or half a gallon, to take home. So they went home, they didn't go look at other open houses, right?
Right.
And then I would set an appointment to come and see them. So what do the Burnses do? Because they are well known for open houses.
They knock doors, inviting people to their open house.
About how many?
They'll knock somewhere in the neighborhood 150 to 200 doors.
Okay.
They invite them to the open house. They do 3 open houses in 7 days. They do one on one weekend, or they do one on the first day, one on like the 3rd or 4th day, and then one on the last Sunday. And then for that 1 week, they collect offers, and then they present the offers on the 8th day. And probably 75 or 80% of their houses sell within those 7 days.
So Tony, they take the offers in with the understanding that they will not present anything until after the last open
Yep.
house.
Right.
Okay.
And one of the open houses in the middle is tacos and margaritas, and they invite everybody. So if they invite all their clients and their clients show up, what is that?
That's a party. That's an event.
So now you're having your clients there, so they're coming to you face to face. You're not having to go to them.
That's brilliant.
Yeah, to me, that's it. And they have a name for their open houses. They call it the Burns Magic. And it's magic because they sell 75 or 80% of their houses
In 8 days.
In 8 days.
Wow. So it's interesting because I've heard it said that in today's market, you can innovate.
Right.
Or you can build relationships.
Right.
Or you can go on price, not lowering your price, make something so efficient that people will pay extra to work with you. And there's another one in there I was thinking of as far as the consistency and everything goes. And that's just really taking care of your people, right?
Right. Yeah. And part of the efficiency that we don't look at, if you look at the triangle that Keller Williams uses, leads, listings, and leverage, a lot of times we think leverage is only people. See, and that's for us in this market, leverage, the last thing you want is more people. What you want are people that are more efficient. So part of the consistency is growing their skills on a daily basis. Are they spending an hour, hour and a half, 2 hours a day growing your skills, or people on your team growing their skills? Because if they can get an appointment with 10 contacts instead of 25 contacts, they just got 60% better. That's more efficiency. You can set 2.5 appointments in the same time you were setting 1.
That makes sense.
That's a huge efficiency. And with that efficiency, they also become better. You go on a listing appointment, you take 80% of them instead of 50% of them. That's a 30% improvement in your cash flow without investing 1 more minute of time.
Well, the interesting part to me too is like let's take Greg, for instance. You don't get on his team unless you absolutely know your scripts and dialogues, right?
You have to be certified. You have to go through all their certification programs. If you're a listing agent, you have to be approved on your listing presentation. If you're a lead generator, whether you're doing database, FSBOs, expireds, open houses, circle prospecting, whatever it is, you have to be certified in all those areas.
So how do they get certified?
They role play with the two, Greg and his partner They have to be certified by them personally.
Okay, so they literally have a test, so to speak.
Yeah, you role play with them and you don't get certified until you're good enough to get the appointment through them.
So do they go on appointments or they have to be certified to go on appointments?
They have to be certified to go on appointments.
So in essence, they have standards that they hold people to.
Yes,
You know, one of the things we knew that when we put systems into place, and I mean, I had 19 books of systems, to make us more efficient. We didn't need multiple client care managers, right?
right.
So how important is it to be systematized?
Well, without systems, how do you get anything done? It becomes random, you know, what's one of the bold laws? So
Okay.
it's basically, it's about your schedule. And if you don't have a schedule where you're on doing lead generation 225 to 250 days a year, you have no consistency.
It's
And I know people get concerned about the repetitious boredom side of consistency. The repetitious boredom is every superstar in every sport and every activity has repetitious boredom in their life. If I'm a painter and I paint a picture every day, like Pat Matthews did, and he paints a picture every day, at least one picture. What happens? You get really good at painting pictures.
well, or John Maxwell writing every single day.
Right.
You get very, very good because of that consistency.
And when you get very, very good, you get very, very bored. And I was always taught that if you don't like repetitious boredom, don't put excitement into your business. Go jump out of an airplane or find another way to create excitement in your life. Don't screw up your business, because here's the truth. The more bored you are, the richer you are.
You know, it's interesting, and I think the bold law you were after is it's not about selling real estate, it's about following the schedule. And when we follow that schedule and have the right things in the schedule,
Right.
things work. So we talked about door knocking, which I did consistently. We talked about calling, which Greg does consistently. Practicing scripts and dialogues and objection handlers, which his people are held to a high standard.
Right.
The Burns with their open houses and have become so well known for that. We've got Rachel Adams out there who is doing social media at a very high level, and that's her whole way of lead generating. Peter Chabris, he goes after referrals by giving out knowledge to other agents.
Yep.
Right. So we've got all these people, yet the one thing we do know is they are consistent in what they do.
Every day. And like Peter, I know that once a week or twice a week, I'm going to get a video from Peter. Mm-hmm. And one's going to other realtors, one's going to his database.
So how important are videos? Because I see a lot of people using those now.
I think right now, if people can't see who they're listening to, mm-hmm. I think that's an issue. There are people now that are doing a lot of YouTube videos. I just talked to one realtor. He already has in his YouTube library, he's got 330 videos that his clients could watch. He uses those. When he talks to a client, he says, you want to know more about what we do in open house? Go watch my open house video, or I explain how we do an open house.
Do you by chance know about how long those are?
3 to 5 minutes.
3 to 5 minutes. So people aren't wanting to look at a 20-minute or whatever, unless it's training like this. We're finding that people want them a little bit longer.
Right.
Yeah, so they actually learn something. So right now we've heard consistency in your role play, in your dialogues, in your objection handlers, which means you do that every day.
Yes.
When you're brand new, how long should you be spending in learning those scripts and dialogues?
I used to tell people that were brand new to real estate, if you did that 3 hours a day for 6 months, which would be somewhere in the neighborhood of 100 and some days, mm-hmm. you'd be better than 90% of the realtors that you're competing against.
Boy, that's true. I remember when Tony and I first met, we went out to breakfast. I thought he wanted a date, right? It was breakfast. He brings a tape recorder and you asked me to role play.
If
It
you,
was
if
so
you were good, if
romantic.
you were really good at scripts and
Yeah.
dialogues, why wouldn't I ask you to learn from you?
Well, the interesting part is you were one of the very few that ever asked me how I sold 104 homes my first year without knowing anybody. And it sometimes baffles me because Greg says a lot of people don't ask him what he does. Gene Arant, making 4 million a year. People don't ask him what he does.
5 million.
Oh, 5 million now. Well, see, he just keeps going up and up. And yet, have you called Gene and asked him? I mean, when we think about all these things, what is it that people do? Now, Gene said I took bold over 20 times, right? A lot
I
of
can
it's
tell you what he
mindset.
did.
What did he do?
We got him to start lead generating at 9 o'clock sharp.
Yes, and you did a very good job in doing that. Tell us about it.
Well, what I found out was that his goal was to start at 9 o'clock. And he was very consistent about not starting at 9 o'clock. And I'm going, if you could start at 2 minutes after 9 or 3 minutes after 9 or 5 minutes after 9, why can't you start at 9? So we just created a consequence. So we negotiated a consequence of his penalty was $200 a minute after 9 o'clock.
So did he ever have to pay?
No,
Oh, I thought he had to pay one time.
maybe he did pay one time, I can't remember. I had one client that wanted to be at the gym at 5:30. You know, it was very good about his income, probably was doing 3 or 4 million a year. His consequence was $25,000 a minute.
$25,000 a minute for not being at the gym at 5:30.
And
Now, did he ever pay though? That's the thing. People go, oh, that's so
they had
much.
text me it.
Yeah, it's not a lot if you don't pay it, is it?
Nope.
No, yet you really put some heavy consequences on people.
Yeah, but if it's not heavy enough, nothing happens.
Yeah. So what was it about coaching? Because you're very good at not just asking questions, yet asking the right questions.
Well, I knew where they wanted to go. I knew where they were and what they had to do differently. And my job is to get them to reach their goals. So we just played the game of getting to your goal, basically. And if you really want it, you'll do whatever it takes.
Isn't that what sellers do though? Do you think it's that agents don't go in and find out enough about the client to really help them get their goal? And that's why they're not able to close the deal or to help them at the highest degree?
Yeah, they don't listen to what their clients are saying. They're too busy thinking about what I'm supposed to say next rather than listening to their answers, because usually their answers give you the next question. So then your listening presentation turns into questions like yours. The average listening appointment was 27 minutes and you asked over 100 questions.
Well, I asked a lot of them before I went in because I wanted to know what it was that they were after. I think a lot of people, I don't know, Tony, I've seen a lot of listing presentations where people just talk about what they do and what their marketing plan is, and it's all about them. Yet, what have we found with the great agents?
The great agents ask questions to help them get where they want to go. And once you find out where they want to go, then most people don't say no to their own goals. If they want to move and be in Denver in 60 days, they're going to do what it takes to get themselves in 60 days. And part of our job is to remind them they need to be in Denver in 60 days.
Well, and the other part though, you just said some real gold there, and I don't want to get over that. Say it again, as far as the fact that most agents don't ask enough questions and
listen.
They don't know the goal of their agents,
right,
or of their sellers and buyers.
Right.
So I've heard ask questions, find out where they want to go. You said if they want to be in Denver in 60 days, do they have to be closed in 60 days or just under contract? See,
Right.
That's a question right there that a lot of people don't ask.
Right.
they hear 60 days and think it's, oh, I got to sell it in 60 days, when they meant they had to be moved and into a new home in 60 days.
Yep, and working everything backwards too.
Uh-huh.
If I want to be in Denver in 60 days and it takes 45 days to get a house under contract.
You better price it right.
Right. Or a buyer, if they want to be in that house in 60 days, they need to find a house today, because it goes under contract in the next 10 days. It's going to take 45 days to close.
Well, why do you think people don't ask questions, Tony?
That's a great question. I have no idea.
Hmm.
See, like in real estate, every realtor knows exactly what needs to be done.
Yes, I'd agree with that.
And most choose not to do it, so.
Do you think it's the fear of asking the questions, or do they think they're prying into their personal life?
Part of them, probably.
How would you get over that?
Ask questions.
Well, that's what you did as a coach. It's interesting, because a great coach is generally a great listing agent, and a great listing agent is generally a great coach, until they think they have to be the expert and tell everybody what to do.
Mm-hmm.
You think that's the hang up?
I'd probably say, I don't know. I mean, there's 1.5 million realtors that know exactly what to do, and only probably 90% do enough to be highly successful. So I don't know what makes the other 90% work.
Well, you like coaching top agents.
Right.
What is it that makes a top producer? If you had to give us some characteristics, what would they be?
They do what they say they're going to do.
Okay, so do they tell the seller what they're going to do, and then tell the seller they did it, and then remind them again? What did they do?
What do they do with their sellers? They basically ask them enough questions to find out exactly what they want, and then they show them how to get there.
And they do it, though, in a way that
But
makes them
by asking questions. Here's the other thing too, when they walk in the door, because of the pre-qualifying questions and things like that, they got a head start, because the seller's looking at them differently. And most people that are great prospectors ask a lot of questions. And when you get the comment from your person you're prospecting or a listing appointment, you're different than all the other realtors I talk to. What's the difference?
You pre-qualified them. You ask questions.
You pre-qualify them and ask
questions about them.
Yeah. And so that's what happens. People notice when you care about what they want and ask enough questions so you can get them there.
Okay, well, let's not go over that too lightly with the pre-qualification, because this is something that we did a lot. How important is it to call that seller before and ask all the questions, and then reiterate those questions when you get there?
It's critical, because you got to know where they want to go. You got to know when they need to be there by. You have to know what they're thinking in advance. Then you reiterate, because they could have changed their mind in between.
Right.
So here's the thing, when you walk in the door as a listing agent, it's your listing to lose.
Right, you already have it, or you wouldn't be there, right? Well, one of the questions that I know that a lot of people used to say, Dianna, why would you ask that? Why would you put that in their mind? And that was, have you thought about being a for sale by owner? And they've already thought about it, so why not just address it? It's an elephant in the room, right? How many of those elephant in the room questions do we need to ask, and what are some that you can think of?
That's the only really elephant in the.
That's the big elephant in the room?
Yeah, and you know what? Top agents don't even worry about that.
Yeah. What about the fact of what happens if your house doesn't sell?
So what's your plan B? That's just information gathering. There's nothing attached to that.
Yeah.
Where are you going? How soon do you need to be there? What's the reason for your move? Basically, what are you thinking of selling? Don't ask what you're going to list your house for. Ask them what they think their house is going to sell for, or what do they want to sell it for. All those questions are just information gathering. What's your loan balance? Do you have more than one loan? Do you have a second mortgage? Do you have a HELOC? Whatever. All that is information gathering.
And you do that before the listing.
You do that before the listing and at the listing.
Mhm.
So tell me again, what's your loan balance? Because they may say, I have a loan, and then I go, well, when we start looking at the net sheet, well, we do have a HELOC of $50,000.
Just this little thing I forgot to tell you, right?
Yeah, well, they're not thinking, they're wanting to get off the phone just on that, and they're not thinking everything, so just reiterating it is just reconfirming. That's all.
And so basically, here we go again, at consistency, scripts and dialogues, lead generation, obviously lead follow-up, pre-qualify everyone, so you know what you're getting into.
In the world of today, that's going to be our new model anyways.
Excellent. Do you have any parting words for the people listening today?
Just build a model of consistency and finding leads to get appointments, to write contracts, to have closings. Practice scripts and dialogues. Go back to outliers. I don't say you need 10,000 hours. You're going to need a lot of hours and really getting good at scripts and dialogues. Because right now the market is competitive. So the winners are the people that are skilled enough to have people do business with them.
Okay, so it is about skill and it is about mindset. You got to believe in yourself, that's
Right.
for sure. Have you ever had to have someone borrow your belief until they believed in themselves? Did you talk to them about their belief?
Maybe more about the beliefs about thinking bigger.
Okay.
Not to get started. Yeah, it's how do you take 90 listings in 90 days? That was a thought process. How do you take 100 listings in a month? Some things like that. We had to make that happen.
We were going to close, yet you just said something. Laura Jalot came to mind. Now she's someone that took you up on that.
Yeah, I mean, she lives in a town of 18,000 people and has taken 100 listings twice in the month of February. So she picked the shortest month and a month that half of her team was gone for 4 or 5 days. So it can be done by anybody. She laid out a plan and worked a plan and believed that she could do it.
So get a plan, lay it out, get the skill, get the mindset, believe in yourself, and just go do it. Ladies and gentlemen, you've heard from Tony DiCello, one of the top agents, or actually one of the top coaches in the United States and recognized as such. And we just are so thankful that you were with us today and becoming more as selling agents.
Thank you.
Thanks.
In your life, you deserve to be more, do more, have more, and give more. And now the Becoming More podcast with Dianna Kokoszka.